Hello, I'm Cheyenne.
And I'm Frankie.
And we are
Conbini
Cult. Welcome to this week's episode. How are you feeling today, Frankie?
A little somber today because we have a serious topic.
Yeah, it's a very serious topic, so I think we can just get into this one. Kind of how we decided to talk about today's topic. I mean, for me, when I do a lot of Reddit searching, when looking for recent events in Japan or just, topics and fun commentary in general.
Yeah.
But I did come across a very concerning thread or photo, I should say, on Reddit. And the title was, "This is Japan's immigration law in one picture. As a Japanese, I feel ashamed." And so I was very curious what that meant. And I clicked on the photo and it's a bunch of posts, would you say? Titles?
Yeah,
posts,
titles of different posts.
Yeah, of different posts about like immigration center detainees and the immigration...
All news articles.
Oh, yeah. Status and everything. And so there's a lot of just concerning titles in there that really sparked, my attention. And when I brought it up with Frankie, you actually heard some news about...
Yeah, I heard about some of these. So, for example, one of them is Japan evacuates only one national from Afghanistan. Sri Lankan woman dies in detention.
Yeah, which is a big case we're actually going to
we
cover
will talk about that one
today. So it was just really concerning, and we felt that it would be important to bring to light. I don't think a lot of people really think about this side of Japan a lot, the darker side. We're getting into our dark era, I guess.
Not seen, not heard.
Yeah. So just wanted to touch on that.
Yes. So as you could see from the title, we're talking specifically about immigration detention and, basically what are the reasons why people would get detained, what kind of treatment do they face in the detention centers, and what kind of life they might have after detention. So, there will be talks of medical negligence that are pretty disturbing, and there will be mentions of suicide in the episode. So if either of those things will be uncomfortable or triggering for you, feel free to skip this one. And we always keep a balance of, having a happy episode to follow these depressing ones.
Yeah, but again, it is important to know about things as well, especially if you are living in Japan or who knows if you, are here on a visa. Some of the content we're going to talk about today is what happens if you overstay your visa.
Yes.
So it is good information to know. However, we are very much aware of the current situation happening in the U.S. as well, where we're from, in regards to, immigration and detainees and ICE and all of that.
Yes.
We are not saying that these situations are better or worse. We're not trying to compare the two. We just don't want to dismiss. Two separate things right now. We're just going to talk about these cases here specifically in Japan because that is where we live. We don't want to dismiss these, people's stories at all. And so we want to just, spread awareness about that. And so please no inappropriate comments, hate speech.
That anything will not be tolerated in the comments, as always.
Alrighty. So let's get into it.
Okay. So what are some of the most common reasons that people get detained and ultimately deported?
Well, the biggest one, I would say, or the most common maybe?
The most common one,
is overstaying a visa. And so just heads up, if you didn't know, even if you stay in Japan only one day past the visa expiration date, that counts as overstaying your visa. So just be careful, always keep an eye on your, expiration date of your visa. Yeah. And just, especially if you have something that expires in, 3 years or 5 years, it's kind of easy to forget or put it in the back of your mind, but just always have that expiration date in mind. I was a little curious, what happens if you do overstay your visa? Are people going to show up to your door right away or anything?
Even if it's accidental?
Yeah. I feel like if it's intentional, no one will really know until you get caught is kind of what I think.
There will be some kind of circumstance where someone looks at your card and sees it's expired and reports it.
But if it is accidental and you want to take care of it, please do that right away. You can actually self-report yourself. You can actually self-report to the immigration office and apply for what's called a departure order system. So that allows you to leave without custody and with a 1-year re-entry ban instead of a 5-year one. So again, if you handle it, honestly and appropriately, I think for the most part, it will be okay. Although I'm not too sure what the success rate of that is, you know? I don't...
Yeah, I think you can also get a lawyer.
Yeah.
If that is the case. If you can afford one, that would probably be the most helpful thing in that situation.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty.
Yeah. Okay. Another, I don't know how common it is, but another reason why someone could get detained and deported is facilitating illegal employment. So, for example, this is a story that we're going to talk about in more detail later in the episode, but a foreign woman was deemed deportable for unknowingly helping a man using a borrowed residence card. So, yeah, I mean, whether you know it or not, you can get in trouble for aiding people.
Ooh, that one's kind of scary. Yeah. All right. And the last one we have is repeated asylum applications. So under the revised Immigration Control and Refugee Recognition Law, foreigners who have had applications for refugee status rejected twice can be deported. Yes. All right.
And the length of time you're barred from re-entering Japan after being deported depends on the circumstances of the case. So, yeah, we will touch on that a little bit more later, but generally, yeah, it depends.
Okay.
So,
all right, yeah.
We have 3 stories to share about people who have been in detention and deemed deportable. Yeah, these are just 3. It's not a comprehensive list of anyone ever who has been detained, but these are 3 very important stories that I would like to share.
Yes.
So the first one, this was very big news at the time. So in March 2021, Wishma Sandamali, a Sri Lankan woman, died in immigration detention after being denied medical care. Rewind. So Wishma came to Japan in 2017 on a student visa. In August 2020, she had sought help from the police for a domestic violence dispute, and they saw that her residence card was expired. So she was arrested at that time for overstaying her visa, and she was detained at a facility in Nagoya. Over the course of being detained for 7 months, her health quickly deteriorated due to extreme stress. She repeatedly requested medical care when she found herself struggling to eat, but her requests were not taken seriously. She was in touch with START, a support group for foreign detainees in Nagoya. Matsui Yasunori, one of the support group's advisors, is quoted as saying, she was in a wheelchair. There was a bucket by her side in case she vomited. She had lost 20 kilograms in 6 months. That's around 44 pounds. Her lips were black. She was foaming at the mouth and she couldn't move her arms or fingers.
Poor thing.
She was eventually allowed to be examined at an outside hospital. They gave her medicine, but she didn't receive any treatment like an IV, despite Matsui's repeated requests. He also said that on February 16th, immigration officials denied Wishma's request for provisional release to receive the necessary medical treatment. So if you need to receive treatment like that, you need to submit an application, which can be time-consuming to get it approved. And if it's an emergency, you don't really have that kind of time.
Of course.
Yeah, so that type of request can be time-consuming, but they're also often denied because the officers think that the person is just faking their illness so they can get released.
Yeah.
The medical staff that they have on site, there are some people, but they're not really equipped for more serious things, so they tend to just They tend to just prescribe pills, like
pain relief pills.
Yeah, pain relief pills, sleeping pills, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, that might not be the best.
I mean, no, especially if you're in serious medical condition.
That's not going to help.
Like, what is that going to do at that point? You know, that's so frustrating.
Yeah. So sadly, Wishma died on March 6, 2021, at the age of 33. Which is
so young. I mean, that's us. Yeah.
So sad. The Immigration Services Agency of Japan created an investigative report about the incident in which officials said the cause of her death stemmed from sickness, but it is difficult to identify the specific process that resulted in death. And of course, her family sought second opinions, and it seems that her actual cause of death was most likely multiple organ failure due to dehydration and malnutrition, which is so heartbreaking.
Especially because it could have been so easily prevented.
Yeah. So Wishma was the 18th foreigner to die in Japanese immigration detention since 2007, according to various media reports. So her family is suing the Japanese government for 156 million yen in damages, which is about $1 million, alleging that immigration authorities failed to provide necessary medical care, which led to her death, which sounds reasonable to me. The case is still ongoing as of November 7th, 2025, the day that we're recording. So there's no verdict yet. There is around 295 hours of CCTV footage of Wishma taken at the Nagoya facility in the days leading up to her death. 5 of those hours were presented in court in Nagoya as evidence, and a small amount of that was released to the public. Some of the footage, obviously very disturbing, shows her lying in bed, pleading to be taken to a hospital and saying things like, I can't drink anything, I can't breathe, I'm going to die. So yes, as I mentioned, they still haven't received a verdict about their lawsuit against the Japanese government, but there have been some recent developments in September 2025. The Japanese government has asked a court to dismiss a lawsuit demanding the full release of video footage. The government argued that the footage is Wishma's personal information and that her family cannot ask for its disclosure. It also said releasing the footage will undermine security operations as it contains information such as the location of surveillance cameras. Which is...
That's crazy, yeah.
Total BS,
Yeah.
I think, because her family wants that footage to be released so people know
course.
how she was treated.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope that they are successful.
Yeah, this case is so frustrating and sad because she went to the police at first, right? For domestic violence. And she was, victim to something and trying to report it. She confided in a system that we are supposed to trust. Yeah. I mean, you can argue, well, she shouldn't have overstayed her visa or whatever, but that's besides the point now. She was just reporting something like domestic violence, and then it ultimately led to her dying in immigration detention. And that's just so heartbreaking, And if I was her family, I would be also suing, the Japanese government and just really upset overall at the situation. It upsets me because she didn't deserve that at all,
Overstaying a visa doesn't mean you deserve to be neglected like that and to suffer like that.
And I mean, everyone is different, so I can't say the reason why people overstay their visas. I'm sure it's very situational, but who knows? Some people, not only in Japan, just everywhere, overstay because maybe they have a worse situation waiting for them back home in their home country. They cannot go back for whatever reason. Yeah. Who knows, right? So we're not here to, again, we don't want to see in the comments saying, well, she shouldn't have overstayed her visa
and then that wouldn't have happened.
Or anything related to why it's bad they overstayed their visa. But yeah, like Frankie said, just because you do doesn't mean you deserve to go out this way. At all, yeah.
The people who are in the detention centers should not be treated
not at
that
all.
way. There's, regulations of how people should be handled in there, which were obviously not met in her case. So in one of the articles about her, I found a list of foreigners who have died in detention since 2007, and it lists their country of origin and the cause of death. So for quite a few of them... It mentions suicide. Yeah. There's 5 suicides on here out of 18 people. Starvation, disease, suppression by guards during deportation, subarachnoid hemorrhage, choked on food, aspiration, pneumonia.
Yeah. There's also one starvation from hunger strike, which is really interesting. I'm curious what their situation was like where they wanted to strike against, I don't know, the officers or the system. But really, really sad overall.
Yes, a very sad thing to see. So there was also another person that we wanted to talk about.
All right, so this next person we're going to talk about, his name is Andre Kussunoki. He is a half Japanese, half Brazilian man who was detained here in Japan on October 5th, 2018. And so at the start of that, he was informed by an immigration officer that he would be transported to the Higashi Nihon Immigration Center in Ibaraki Prefecture. And he, I guess, of course, didn't go willingly, right? He kind of barricaded himself in the bathroom, and he was just asking, why am I getting sent there or
that specific
location? And he was scared. And he was scared to go there because he knew of someone who committed suicide in that location. So I think he just was scared to go there, and he didn't want to go, obviously. So after barricading himself in the bathroom, 6 immigration officers forcefully entered and detained him, despite his pleas that he was in pain. So they were crushing him, essentially. I mean, 6 versus 1.
Yes.
And so they were sitting on his body, on top of his head, on his, like, holding his arms, twisting his arms really aggressively. So he was, visibly in pain as well. And due to his injuries, in August 2019, he filed a lawsuit against Tokyo Immigration for 5 million yen. So in 2019, at that time, it was roughly $43,000 for his injuries. So suing them for his injuries and saying, they were very forceful in subduing him despite his claims that they were hurting him, especially because they didn't answer his questions about why he's moving to the specific Ushiku City Immigration Center. Yeah. And so I think that's why he showed resistance at first. Or he just didn't. It sounds like he was just scared, right? In his injuries, he suffered a partial rotator cuff tear. That's never happened to me, but that sounds very painful. After being examined and transferred to the immigration center. Kussunoki claims, he just wanted to have a calm dialogue and explanation about why he was being sent to the detention center. But again, they didn't say anything. They just went in with full force. And to backtrack a little bit, just some more background on him. Sorry if I forgot to mention at first. He is half Brazilian. So his dad is Brazilian and his mom is Japanese, but he grew up in Sao Paulo. So he was here on a visa.
So maybe it's not super common knowledge among everybody, but it is easy to find this information that a lot of people have died in detention centers. And at the time that Kussunoki was being detained, like soon before that, there was news about an Indian man in that Ushiku detention center in Ibaraki that this man had committed suicide. So with that recent news, that just really freaked him out that he was being sent to that same facility.
Yeah, and I'm sure some people are kind of curious, if he's half Japanese, why is he being detained at immigration? Why
did he have a Japanese passport? What kind of visa did he have?
Right. So he actually did have a long-term visa status, and then he changed it over to a spouse visa after getting married to a Japanese woman.
Long-term resident, right?
Oh, sorry. Yes, long-term resident status. Changed it over to a spouse visa after marrying a Japanese woman, but then he lost that status after they got divorced. So I assume that is the reason why,
Yeah. So for the long-term resident visa, I think it was created for maybe like Japanese Brazilians, Japanese Peruvians, or people of Japanese descent who had been living abroad. So I don't think I would qualify for that type of visa. It's a very specific
specific one because of, I think they just wanted people to also like work. It was like very like work related. And if you were Japanese, Peruvian or Brazilian, you kind of were given, I don't want to say privilege, but like this kind of special long-term visa, I guess, at that time. So it would allow you to like come here and work. Yeah. For the workforce. Okay. Reading up on his time in the detention center is just really sad because, of course, he suffered from depression. He also saw people try to commit suicide or...
He had his own attempt.
Yeah, he also had his own attempt. He was in solitary confinement a lot as well. So clearly, he was suffering in this place.
Yes. For 3 years he was in there, right?
Yeah. And even though... There's actually like rules on how foreign nationals should be treated at immigration facilities. You would think it's totally lawless in there, but
from the sounds of it, but there is.
Yeah,
there are rules.
Yeah, so in the Immigration Services Agency of Japan, it says that the human rights of the detainee must be respected, and the purpose of detention should be appropriate treatment. But I think getting fed and getting medical care is a basic human right, and it sounds like a lot of people are denied that. So it's hard to say, how much these, I guess, regulations are being kept up. But anyway.
I think at one point so there was a 2-part article that we were referencing for his story. So there was something in there about one of the guards was talking to him and kind of felt sorry for him and was like, when I signed up for this job, I didn't know this was how we were going to treat people. But that man is just a small cog in a big machine. Yeah. So he felt kind of helpless.
Yeah. So that was, comparatively, okay, he seems like that immigration officer.
That's just one person.
That's just one person, you know, sure. I understand there's more than just him thinking that way. However, the immigration officer that was the witness for Kussunoki's court hearing and also one of the officers who were there detaining him, he clearly does not feel this way, in my opinion.
Yes.
You know, they asked him, why did you use force? Because they're not supposed to use force unless instructed that, you know, they need to control the situation forcefully.
Oh, yeah.
So even though he wasn't instructed to intervene, he said it was for the safety of the other officers. And it's kind of like, okay, but there's six of you and there's one of him. How much of your safety is really, you know, at, what do you call?
At risk.
At risk here. Yeah. So anyway, that was his defense, I guess. But
yeah.
It's just like really frustrating to hear. And such cases of repression at immigration detention centers have more than tripled nationwide in 4 years. So from 463 in 2015 to about 1,400 in 2019. And so there are also cases where detainees are isolated in solitary rooms. And that number has gone from 174 in 2015 to 569 in 2019. So it's not getting any better, clearly. Yeah, it's really, really sad. There were also a total of 127 civil suits filed against immigration authorities between 2000 and 2019. And furthermore, there were at least 20 cases of civil proceedings regarding violence at detention centers in the past 20 years, when counting only cases which had been disclosed by the press and other sources. So that's all the cases we know of. Yeah. And I don't doubt there's even more than that. Yeah. So,
and I'm sure sometimes it doesn't even get filed in the first place. So.
Yeah. But we do have an update on his lawsuit that you found, right?
Yes. So he filed that initial suit in 2019 seeking 5 million yen in compensation, which was
43,000
at that time.
USD at that time. And
but
today
33,000.
Crazy. Just lost that.
How the yen has just lost
so much value. Yeah.
But yeah, in 2022, a court ordered the state to pay 100,000 yen, a whopping $734 in damages. Which is so insulting.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's not even, I don't know, a sliver of what he was asking for.
Yeah. I mean, people don't usually get the full amount that they asked for,
but such a drop. Yeah. $134? That's so insulting. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So there was also, we had mentioned earlier about facilitating illegal employment being another reason to get detained and deported. So there was a case in Osaka, actually, recently. So a woman who unknowingly aided a man using a borrowed residence card. Her identity is anonymous, but she's from an Asian country and she speaks Japanese. She was working for a dispatch company and was a liaison between foreign workers and employers. In May 2021, a Vietnamese man with a student visa came in for an interview. The woman used an app recommended by immigration to scan the chip and verify his residence card. But basically that app just verifies if it's forged or not.
Oh, okay.
Not really the person's identity.
True identity, I see, okay.
Yeah, so she scanned that card.
Yeah, she did what she was told. Yeah, she's following the rules. She did her job.
Yeah. But at this time, during the peak of COVID, everybody's still wearing masks at that time. And she didn't ask him to remove his mask, which is going to be like a point of contention that we see again in this case. So yeah, when she compared him to the photo, it seemed legit.
I see.
But he had the mask on.
I see.
And then everything goes about her day, whatever. 2 months later, the police come into her workplace and question her about the man that she had interviewed 2 months prior. So this man's visa was... His real visa was actually for technical training, which is different from a student visa.
Right.
There's different, limitations of work and stuff you can do on different types of visas. And apparently he had disappeared from his place of training.
Oh.
So, yeah, they're looking for him and backtracking where he had been. So even though she was deceived by this man, the police still sent documents about her to public prosecutors. And then... In December 2021, a few months later, the prosecutors decided not to indict her.
Okay.
But it does not end there. So immigration decided to do their own investigation of this matter. So she thinks everything is fine. A few months go by, and then in May 2022, she gets a call from an immigration officer asking her to come in for questioning. Mm-hmm. They start grilling her about why she didn't ask him to remove the mask, which...
COVID, I don't know. Yeah. It was a rough time during those, peak COVID years, okay?
Yeah. In October 2023, during a fourth round of questioning, an immigration officer handed the woman a piece of paper informing her that she would be subject to forced deportation. It was also found that she had abetted illegal employment. This stems from the 2009 amendment to the Immigration Control and Refugee Recognition Act, where it states that if a foreign business owner employs or introduces a foreigner in an illegal employment situation, they can be subject to deportation regardless of intent or negligence. In April 2024, she filed a lawsuit raising an issue with the government's interpretation that she had negligence in her actions. She said, with the current interpretation of the regulations, anyone could suddenly be expelled from the country. And she asked the court to annul the finding by the government that her actions constituted abetting illegal employment. The Tokyo District Court in March 2025 ruled in favor of the government and dismissed her claim, and she appealed that in July 2025. There's still no update on that, but I don't think she's been deported yet.
Well, that's good. I feel like it should be okay, right? Like, honest mistake, and again, she wasn't the one who overstayed a visa or used a different residence card or anything like that. Did she make the mistake in not checking his full picture? Sure. But it wasn't intentional, I don't know. I feel like she'll be okay. Hopefully.
Yeah. I do have a few more points.
Yeah.
So her lawyer, Daisuke Matsumura, said he hoped to raise awareness of the flaws in the immigration control law through the trial, and the dispatch company that she is working for fully supports her and her lawsuit.
Good.
So, yeah. She and her company have stated, she was just doing her job.
Her job, yeah.
Which, okay, she could have asked him to remove the mask, but I'm also wondering, so theoretically, if I were to borrow a friend's residence card and try to do something with that, I would find someone who looks like me. So even if I took off my mask, it could still be a case of mistaken identity.
Yeah, I mean, because...
I'm not saying all Asians look alike.
I was going to say, where are we going with this? No, I'm kidding. Yeah.
But he probably chose somebody who looked like him.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if he's going to go that far as to borrow, a friend's residence card. And also, like Frankie was saying, you could look alike because sometimes the photo version of you doesn't even look like the real you. I have some residence cards that I'm like, who is that monster,
My old passport photo, I don't know who that girl with the bowl cut is.
Yeah, especially because, I mean, maybe it works more for people with, longer hair or whatever, but, you could cut your hair, you could have a different hairstyle, dye your hair. Yeah. So, I don't know. I mean... It's not, totally unexplainable.
Yeah, that is not a foolproof method to just ask somebody to take off their mask. Maybe he and his friend did genuinely look alike anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
So we shared these 3 very alarming stories, but it's not all nightmare experiences. So I have an old coworker who's a friend who mentioned that she had a friend in Osaka who was detained for overstaying her visa. Oh. And this friend basically said it was like staying in a hotel.
Interesting. What was the nationality of that friend who got detained?
Filipino.
Okay. Well, all right.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I just can't help but wonder, are they harsher on some...
Southeast Asians.
Yeah, on some nationalities versus, an American overstaying their visa,
Yeah. I mean, luckily... For them, they were treated well in there, but they had to pay fines when they were released for overstaying the visa.
Yeah.
So I asked my old coworker friend if they could get in touch with this person to see if maybe they would want to share, anonymously, of course, because it's a very personal thing.
Yeah.
If they would like to share anything with us for the podcast. And they said...
Spit it out! I'm on the edge of my seat. What?
How much will we pay them?
Oh, okay.
So that was a no-go.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry.
I was quite surprised by that.
Yeah. I mean...
you don't have to share the story. It's okay.
No.
I was just taken aback by how much.
Were they under the assumption we were going to name them and that's why they wanted some kind of compensation for it?
I think maybe they just think that podcasters make money. But guys, our podcast doesn't make any money.
Frankie deserves so much money for all of her hard work and editing and all that. But
we're not monetized. We don't have
it's just a side gig. Anyone want to sponsor us?
You want to give us money?
Yeah, no. It's our lovely hobby. And more job for Frankie. My lovely hobby. Yeah. Oh, okay. Wait, should we have entertained her idea and been like, how much do you want? Yeah, I'm curious how much she thought she would have gotten paid.
If you guys want
no shade to her. I would, my first time hearing that, so I was just surprised. Yeah.
It's okay if she doesn't want to share.
Yeah.
But if you guys really want to hear her story,
pay her.
Get a GoFundMe. Let's pay her for her story.
Interesting. Oh, okay. Well, cool.
So we're not getting that one today.
Oh, bummer.
Sorry, guys.
Right.
But that brings us to, so what actually happens when you're released from detention?
Okay. Yeah. Are you fined? Overstaying a visa and working illegally can result in fines for both the individual or the employer. Mm-hmm. Overstaying a visa in Japan can result in a fine of up to 3 million yen, roughly $19,000 and or imprisonment of up to 3 years, and deportation is likely, so be careful out there. Mm-hmm. If deportation is ordered, the individual is typically expected to pay their own airfare. If they can't pay or get support, they'll stay in detention for longer. Oh, that puts some things into perspective.
That's
too.
That's probably why many people have been in there for a long time.
Yeah. Oh, poor things. Okay.
Yeah. Then there's something called provisional release. So this is a discretionary release from the detention facility, but it doesn't mean that your deportation order is canceled. You're released under strict conditions. People on this type of release are not allowed to work. They face difficulties accessing the national health insurance system and are often prohibited from traveling outside their local prefecture without permission. To maintain this status, you must regularly report to the Immigration Bureau, sometimes as often as once a month. A deposit may be required for the release as well, up to 3 million yen, around $20,000, which can be returned if all of the conditions are met.
What? Okay.
Not everyone can afford that.
I can't afford that, to just dish up 20 grand. No.
Yeah. So I wonder how common this release actually is.
Who can afford that in one go? I mean, unless there's support and stuff like that, but still. Okay. Interesting. There's also a system called the New Supervisory Measure, and this system allows a detainee to live outside the facility under the daily supervision of a designated person. So that can be a supporter, a relative, or an acquaintance who is approved by the Immigration Services Agency.
That sounds like a parole officer.
Yeah, it's exactly that, I think, yeah. Also, individuals under this measure are unable to work, making it financially difficult to sustain themselves. Some detainees have given up on applying because they can't find a supervisor or see no way to make a living after release. Yeah. So kind of similar to ex-cons. Yeah, you can't get a job, or it's hard to, seek employment and things like that. So
yeah, well, I think it's designed that way so that people will just give up and leave.
Yeah, that's true. Setting them up for failure.
Yeah. And then re-entry bans after deportation. So the standard re-entry ban, if you're deported for reasons such as overstaying a visa, you'll typically be prohibited from re-entering Japan for 5 years. Longer bans are for serious offenses. So it could be something like 10 years for more serious crimes like drug offenses, violent crimes, or other major violations.
How long do you think Logan Paul was banned from Japan for? Or is he blacklisted?
Was he actually banned?
I don't know, actually. I thought he was...
Was Johnny Somali actually banned? I don't think so. Maybe he was.
Maybe he was on camera.
Detained by the police.
So was Logan Paul. Yeah,
Logan
I guess...
Paul wasn't arrested, though.
No, that's true. Was he just... I don't know. Question for another time. I just thought about it. Okay.
Yes. So after being released from detention, you might experience life in limbo. Even after release, individuals are often left in this state of permanent limbo. They can't build a normal life. They can't work legally. They can't access public services like health insurance, all while living under the threat of deportation, which sounds very unpleasant.
Yeah, and I mean, if it sucks because it's so not worth it to do that. So like you said, it's probably just designed for them to go home.
Just leave, yeah.
But some people I mean, what if you can't afford your airplane to leave? So even though you want to and you can't and you're just stuck.
You'll probably stay in detention unless you can gather support to raise money for that flight.
I wonder if there's GoFundMes or... I mean, there's got to be, right? When you search some kind of support system or, support network for detainees in those centers. Maybe you can donate to or things like that.
Yeah. I don't think we mentioned this yet, but you can have visitors when you're in detention.
I did not know that.
Yeah, that was another reason why Kussunoki was scared of going to Ibaraki.
Going to that one because you couldn't get visitors. It was
too
very far
for his friends and family to visit.
You're right.
Yeah. So maybe, if you had somebody visit, then you could tell them you want to start a GoFundMe or something.
Okay.
For those fines.
All right. So let's talk about some asylum and refugee applications. There's some very strict rules being enforced about that. First, there are systematic flaws in refugee screening. So the core of the issue often lies in Japan's refugee recognition process. The Japan Federation of Bar Associations argues that the system does not guarantee due process. There are instances where applicants were quickly rejected, but later recognized as refugees by courts, proving that rushed procedures can fail those in genuine need of protection. There are also new, stricter deportation laws since a revised law took effect in June 2024, very recently.
Yeah.
At least 17 foreigners with repeated asylum applications have been deported. Critics warn that this forces genuine refugees back to countries where they face persecution. Yeah.
So Japan actually is one of the strictest countries for asylum seekers. This is quoted from an article. 12,373 applications for refugee status were submitted in 2024, and 190 were certified as refugees. A very, very tiny amount.
Yeah, what a small amount.
Yeah. Another change to the refugee recognition law in 2023 was the introduction of a supplementary protection certification program to cover those from nations engaged in warfare. The measure was implemented to counter criticism that Japan was taking in a woefully small number of refugees. The Supplementary Protection Certification Program was designed to help those fleeing nations engaged in warfare, started in December 2023. In 2024, 1,661 foreigners were certified under the program. Of them, there were 1,618 Ukrainians, 17 Syrians, 13 from Myanmar, 11 from Sudan, 1 from Afghanistan, and 1 from Uzbekistan. Do you see a pattern in that?
Yeah, there's a large amount of Ukrainians in there, which nothing against that group, but also
no.
Not at all, but
if they are trying to escape the war there, of course. Support them in that.
Right.
It's just interesting how the majority of the ones they've taken in are white people.
That's where I was getting at, yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because in the language school episode that we did with Ariana, there was a Ukrainian person that I talked to who actually got a scholarship to language school here, which I thought was interesting. I mean, of course, good for her.
Good for her.
That's really amazing that she got that opportunity. But it does seem a little unfair to people from other places.
Yeah.
Just
pointing it out. Yeah, just making an observation. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So the last thing is something I was really wondering about.
Yeah.
So what about the children of people who are facing deportation? Because what if they're born and raised here? What if they're in Japanese school, fluent in Japanese? This is the only place they know. What would happen to them?
Well, Japan introduced a special relief measure in August 2023 to help foreign children born and raised in Japan who faced deportation due to their parents' lack of legal status. Under the policy, then Justice Minister Ken Saito allowed special residency permits for minors meeting certain conditions, such as being born in Japan, attending Japanese schools, and having parents without serious criminal or immigration violations. Yeah, so about 260 children were reviewed, and 212 from 140 households received permits, which were also extended to their families. While the measure was seen as a significant step, some children have slipped through the cracks. Yeah, of course, that's not all of the kids, right? Suffering from this, but...
Yeah, it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, of course.
Trying to help the children.
Yeah, because, I mean, they're not at fault for anything, you know.
Yeah, they didn't choose their circumstances.
Not at all.
To some extent, adults haven't either. Like, you don't have control over everything.
Yeah, it is really, I don't know, I can't watch the news about that, especially, again, going back to where we're from, the US and ICE and all of that, you see a lot of videos about kids getting separated from their parents. And it's heartbreaking whether you have kids or not. But me, fresh postpartum, like, it's really, really heartbreaking to watch. I can't, handle that. And I'm just a bystander, so I can't imagine how hard that would be.
I mean, I don't know the individual circumstances of everybody who was, reviewed for this new policy, but it sounds like they're at least trying to keep the families together.
200, the number was roughly 200. 212 it's better than 0. So, yeah, that's good. But, what a sad...
Sorry, this was a sad episode.
No, it's okay. It's very informative, right? We need to know about this as well. But
and we assume that if you have made it through the whole episode, you also are able to extend some empathy to people in these situations. So I don't think anybody's, overstaying their visa or applying for refugee status because they think it's fun.
Oh, of course not. Yeah. Everyone has their own circumstances, but I think it was good that we talked about this as well, because I don't think anyone should forget these people, especially Wishma. It's so easy to see the news a bit at the time and then forget everything about it. Like, I remember watching the news back in 2021 and that's all that was on the news every single day. And I have not heard anything about her since then, basically. So it was a good reminder for myself that these things are still really ongoing, not just Wishma, but her case does deserve to be known as well, because it's not okay.
Yeah. And if there happens to be an update about her family's lawsuit, I'll include an update. But on the day that we're recording, there has been no verdict yet.
Alrighty. Well, it was a tough one, but thank you so much for being here, for listening and watching, as always.
Yeah, I learned a lot in this research. We hope that you did as well.
Yep. And that's all.
All right. Catch you next time with maybe a silly topic. Who knows?
All right. Bye.
Bye.